Engelhardt,
Here.
Ingstrom,
Here.
Malcolm,
Here.
Marr,
Here.
Moore.
Right. So on to item 3 then is the pledge. So everybody that's able to stand, please, let's recite the pledge together. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, then item 4 is perfection and approval of the agenda. We need a motion for that, please.
So moved.
Ross, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mary? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Carried. All right, then item 5 is our citizens that have any concerns, they can voice them right now, if you'd like.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for the my name is Crystal Duffy. I am the new library director at Postville Public Library and also the community developer and project manager for Postville Heart and Soul. I am also an avid gardener. And in fact, gardening on actual soil versus the rocks of the Southern California desert is why I moved to Iowa. I am speaking to you today out of concern for the future of the Diversity Garden, a garden that feeds many of our residents, both those who grow food in the garden and those who rely on our food pantry. I have only been here a short time, but when I visited the community garden and saw the amount of food being grown and learned how extensively our residents, especially those from Latin American countries, are utilizing this space, I was blown away. This wasn't something you read about when you Googled Postville, but it should be. The Diversity Garden is just one of the many generous things that residents do in our town to help other residents. This is how we value diversity in action, beyond just merely saying, we love diversity. At the last City Council meeting, I don't think there was an understanding of the complexity of moving the garden. I realize that the city has every right to sell whatever property it owns, but at a time when we are trying to build community, it seems to be contrary to that, to sell a plot of land that benefits so many in our community, especially to do so without first consulting the wonderful people who have spent countless hours nurturing the plants of this garden. If the city is going to move ahead with the sale of this land, at the very least, it should commit to ensuring the following. The new space is as large as the old, the quality of the soil is comparable, or the necessary steps to make it so are taken, i.e. bringing in high quality compost to amend the new space, tilling the new space, removing trees, etc. The space is fenced to protect it from wildlife and theft. There is adequate water access. Any perennial plants moved to the new site that do not survive transplant are replaced. The labor to move all perennial plants is arranged or paid for. Thank you, Mayor and City Council members, for all that you do. I know that not every decision you make is easy. I have observed over the many City Council meetings I've attended that the primary motivation for your decisions is what you think will be best for the people of Postville as a whole. I know that we may not necessarily agree on what is best for Postville in this particular scenario, but I hope you will consider my statement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, if nobody else is gonna speak, I won't speak, otherwise I will. Okay, hey, I just wanted to bring you guys up to date. I think you're aware, or I hope you are, but there was actually the Alameda County Facade Grant Program. And there was $50,000 that was put into the program, and basically what they did is they used hotel motel tax dollars that are from the county, but not within city limits. And so those dollars, because they hadn't been really said, this is how we're going to use them, they said we would do that. So today, we actually went through the applications last week and we brought it forth to the Board of Supervisors for final approval. And just to let you guys know, we received 14 applications from across the county. 2 of them were withdrawn, leaving us with 12 applications. Actually, we determined one of our projects that came through was ineligible, which is fine. But the ACED board recommended that the Alameda County fully fund the remaining 11 applications with with the exception of the one, we cut by $500 because of some things with that. But anyways, the 11 projects, we talked about them today, but the total grant funding we recommended for allocation at this time was $42,836.12, which leaves a remaining program balance of $7,000 and some odd dollars. The total spending of these projects will be $133,643. That means by awarding these grants, Alameda County will have more than tripled its investment with the projects when they're completed. So we're pretty excited about that. 2 of those projects are here in Postville, just so you know that. I did receive another application. I mean, there's still $7,000 out there. And of course, this is all on our website on the homepage if you want to know more information. But I definitely am aware of other people that still want to apply. But we are just like, we want to move that money as fast as we can. And they have a year to get the projects done. And it is on a reimbursement type of thing. But to know that it would actually triple is pretty exciting. And just excited that we had some really great applications. And once again, if you have any commercial owners here in town or outside of town that are in the county and you feel like they should get in contact with me to see more about the program, they should. Because we still want to award these dollars and maybe go back and ask for more money.
Right.
I don't know how that will go, but we would still ask. So just wanted to share.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Val. Anybody else from the citizens that want to speak? If not, we've gone to item 6 then, and that's the public hearing on authorization of loan agreement and the issuance of notes to evidence the obligation of the city thereunder, and that's the $400,000 taxable GO bonds, government obligation bonds.
Mhm.
So I'll go ahead and then open the public hearing. So anybody would like to speak on this issue? Nobody? Does anybody understand what's going on?
I think you better explain it.
Yeah, this is what the city is looking to do is buy some property, buy some acres. So we're going to fund that then by general obligation bonds. It's like general obligation bond is what we've done before when we go in and have school issues or building, and I know we did it with the county when we built the new jail. So that's where this is going, and with a little luck, we'll get this done. So this is a public hearing for folks to voice their concerns or anything else on that matter.
What property are you talking about?
That property behind Dollar General, it's 28, about 28 acres there.
What will it be used for, do you know?
Well, right now we're thinking residential, the city right now has got nothing to offer, for if somebody did want to come in and build, we've got nothing. So this is, believe me, this is out in the future. We're, the thing is, if you don't, if you have if you don't own the ground, you really can't do anything. So, that's the first step, is to buy the ground and then put this in our some of it will be in a 5-year plan for sure. We've got lots of things to look at, as far as engineering and all of these things. Right now it's just bare ground. So yeah.
Are these for single family homes?
Yes.
And then they'd be lotted out, it would be developed eventually, street, sewer, water.
You bet.
Lotted
Yes.
out where I could buy a lot, build a home on it,
Yes, sir.
and you would sell that lot for what? I mean, just way down the road, but,
Yeah. Yeah. But right now, Randy, we don't know. I mean, I think everybody knows here that, for the piece of property, that probably the cheap thing we're going to do is buy that piece of property. And then when you develop it, you know, it's gonna take quite a bit of money. But,
Get us after the property for now. And then
yes,
go
you
down
bet.
the road from it.
Yep.
Do more than weed it. Shovel the sidewalk.
What's that?
I said you mow it, weed it, and shovel it.
Yeah, well, there's nothing out there, but
Yeah.
right now, so what we'll do, we'll get this all put together, we'll rent the farm ground out, you know, and then, go from there, but, yeah. So that's it, I hope, you know, we don't want to lead anybody down, we want everybody to know what's going on here, you know, so,
Under obligation bonds, what are the rates on interest currently?
4, wasn't it?
4.
4. So we got that in at a pretty good rate, so, yeah. And I don't believe, have we received anything like for the mail or anybody come in and say anything?
No,
No,
no written.
No written.
Can I just ask you a quick question, and maybe I should know this, about general obligation bond? Does that mean you buy bonds?
That means that a bank will buy the bonds. Banks are competing for us, right? To borrow
Okay,
from
okay,
them through
okay,
bonds.
Okay, that's why I didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, and no other questions, I guess then we'll go ahead and
Close.
close them.
There's one back there.
Yeah,
Is it the swampland or is it that cornfield?
it's that cornfield. Yeah. So what like I said, it's about 28 acres, you know, so if you go back a Dollar General and then to the south,
It's
You know.
behind Southern Comfort.
yeah, Southern Comfort and the cemetery, you know, back in there and then yeah. So I did drive my gator back there after the crop was out, you know, and you just got a perspective, you know, of how it looks, you know, and there would be some very nice building lots out there once this gets developed, I think, you know, I mean, see, I'm the guy that plants the crops. I'm not really the guy that lays out the streets. So I just, you know, but yeah. Val,
Just curious, is that Albuquerque County or Clayton County?
that would be Clayton County.
Oh, I'm crushed.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? Kudos. Because the only way you're going to bring people here, I mean, you've got to have options. So
Yeah.
kudos.
Well, thanks.
Okay.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. But
Yeah, I know it was right.
it's right there. Yeah. All right. Anything else? If not, I guess we'll close the meeting, the public hearing, and then go into the resolution number 1374-22, a resolution instituting proceeding to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $400,000 taxable general obligation capital loan notes. So we would need
Motion to adopt the resolution.
a motion to adopt the resolution.
I move we adopt resolution number 1374-22.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. And this would be a roll call.
Engelhardt,
Yes,
Engstrom,
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
Mar.
Yes.
All right, so that passed. So there we go. Got one step down. Okay, then let's go on to item 7, and it's a public hearing for the sale of property of 261 West Stoneman. And we still will have a,
Go ahead and open it to the public.
okay, I'll open that up for public hearing also then. And that, what this is the lot, an empty lot that's on West Stoneman that is for sale. And you know how we sell things for the public, it's a bid type thing. That's how we do with public property. So I think, well, our intent or the city council's intent was to sell this for somebody to come in and build housing. So. Any comments on that?
Is it big enough to build a house?
Yes.
Yes. It is. Anything else? And we haven't received any comment or anything from
No.
public or anything else. Well, I guess I'll go ahead then and close that meeting. Did we receive any?
We did not.
We did not receive any bids on that. So we'll have to go back, I suppose, to the drawing board on that and discuss on how we might move that forward. If you guys got any comments on that at all?
The person that had expressed interest here at the meeting did not.
Right. We sent him an instruction to bid, as well as another individual that had made contact that was interested,
Mhm.
and neither one submitted a bid
Okay,
by the deadline.
thank you.
So I'm not sure if you want to
Well-
just
well-
wait till spring, or if you want to take the $5,000 min that you had, in the instructions, or if you just want to address it again in the spring.
Seems like it might be easier to sell in the spring.
It's at 5,000 old based off the line.
Right. You had put a $5,000 minimum bid
Oh,
on
yeah,
that, remember?
So that might be something you'd want to consider again, or
So now, do you know if those other folks that had expressed interest thought it was too much money?
I'm not sure. I
They've never
never heard
said,
back
okay.
from them.
all right, well, so we will then go on to the next item.
Yep.
And item 8 is Judy.
Maybe this will. See how the kids enjoy the garden.
Okay, I'm here about the diversity garden, and so it, give you a little history of it. In 1999, I think the council got, the city council got a, grant to make a diversity garden. There was a need with new immigrants in the town, and they readied the area and provided a water source. The first gardeners were former USSR immigrants. They were the first ones. Through the years, in 2005, Northeast Iowa got the Kellogg Food and Fitness Grant, and we had different personnel available through that. One well-known one was David Cavanero. Huge quantities of food helped Mexican families and the school. Kids walked to and from school to help in the garden. And protection was needed in 2010. Mayor Rayco got fencing for us and worked with his own equipment. From the food and fitness, they provided a grant for a bag of cement to secure each of the fence posts that two former Ukrainian men and Bill and I, and then with the help of Mayor Waco, he brought in his post hole digger while we set all the posts and everything and put up the fence that he found in the used fence. The teachers, kids, and all loved eating the fresh fruit and vegetables. And there was only one fence on the north side of the garden when we came. It was there from when the kids played softball. My daughter played softball up there. And so 3 sides were fenced in. Now in 2022, at the Diversity Garden, there's about 20 gardeners. 17 of them are Mexican or Guatemalan. We have no former USSR people right now. We have 2 Postvillians. We have the present school garden, and we had 1 Jewish gardener. One family with 6 kids that were there this year. And we also the garden gave over 800 pounds of food to the food pantry. The proposed sale of the garden and us needing to move. It's important to test the ground wherever we move, that it's okay to raise vegetables in. Because you never know if a house burned down 100 years ago and they shoved some dirt there that had lead from lead paint in it, and then you can't raise food for people to eat with that. So wherever we go, we need to have the ground tested. Therefore, we ask support and direction from the city council and the school administrations. Difficulties in moving would be space, water, fencing, large items that would have to be moved would be trees, grapes, vines, established beds, asparagus, rhubarb, strawberries. This is one of the apple trees that we had already, and there was the same year we planted 3 apple trees, a pear tree, and 2 cherry trees. One of the cherry trees was from the city that year to put in the garden. And we would need parking near the garden, a gate in the fence big enough to haul out debris from gardening and stuff and take to the food, compost place, a shed for the equipment, 21 trees from large to small, where I think some of the larger ones can't even be moved. We were wondering if the city will keep providing the compost and water for us. And we were also wondering who will enforce the agreement that the bidder will move all the garden stuff for us. You know, we can't go running and say, well, he isn't moving this or that, or somebody should be in charge of seeing that everything gets moved.
Yeah.
If it's the way it is. And we do need a fence, because there is no use planting things without a fence. All my gardeners know you don't plant things without a fence. It's gone. So, thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks, Judy.
Somebody else like to speak to this?
You're not the public hearing open yet?
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll go ahead then and open public hearing. No. Anybody else?
Who's looking to purchase that?
Don't know yet. We haven't opened the bid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got one bid.
I have a question.
Sure.
Judy and I went and talked to the superintendent of schools, and he's got land behind the synagogue that's a grove of trees, but those trees have to come down, and that might happen this year, but the road has not been put in yet. The water hasn't been put in, so we know that we won't be able to plant this year. So I talked to Larry Moore yesterday, and he did mention maybe instead of up there at the school grounds, maybe even over at the fairgrounds. There might be something over there. We'd be close to water that way. Whatever happens is, it would be nice if we could continue gardening at least one more summer. Because there's these 20 families that would be out. There's no way we will be ready to garden this summer if it's up at the school. It just won't be ready.
There's a grove of trees that needs to be taken out.
So if nothing else, could the garden be extended one more garden season? So.
Are the trees at the school also some of them black walnuts?
Yeah, there are 4 black walnuts. That won't be good for a while at that end.
You can't grow some of them.
With pine trees too, and tomatoes don't like pine trees. No.
What kind of those were eggplants?
All right.
And the superintendent, we asked him about a fence, and he said the school will not provide a fence.
Just around the garden.
Yeah, just the land is all the school will provide.
So why are they selling it?
The garden.
Yeah.
Veg.
I mean, if it's established and you have a lot of people using it, why are you selling it?
Well, it wasn't, it was it's, I guess you could say it was an opportunity for somebody. I mean, there was a bid here, and it wasn't that we weren't going to pull the rug out from these folks. I mean, that's when we went and talked to the school, and we actually thought it would be a good marriage, for to have the gardeners go to the school, and there is children, right, that do use this, and it'd be as far as the educational part of it, I mean, for school, because it'd be way handier for these kids to be right there on the grounds and having to walk up to where the garden is now.
Is this something that, they can't wait until you have one established and then buy it? It sounds like they're just trying to pull the rug out of all the people that want to use it, not having something, a facility ready for them.
Yeah. Then that's right. I guess when we were talking to the school, they did not pinpoint where this was going to be, and I guess now they must have, but I would, we're heading into winter, and, we're not planning anything now anyway. So I would think there would be time that we could get something worked out here. So.
That is city property, correct?
What's that?
That is city property that the gardens are on.
Right now?
So some had instigated the sale of that, correct?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what he was asking, what prompted this to be sold all of a sudden.
Yeah, it
Somebody
was
sort of wanted to-
that exactly.
True
Somebody
interest in
showed an
buying
interest
it,
in
or-
buying that. That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
I was with the Food and Fitness Initiative for 10 years and had many grants that ended up with the garden. A lot of people have come. We had college kids, we had kids from Guatemala, we had bus loads coming from the cities. It was, the garden is a unique, very, very unique place. The number of trees that would have to be moved, Judy talked about, probably could be moved, but you would have to figure on replacing at least 2/3 of them because they would die. We get all this food. I work at the food bank right now. All this food that people just love the fresh fruit. We won't be able to, I have an established garden. I bet for 3 years, I bet it wouldn't, we couldn't. Judy, would that be right?
Yeah, at least 3 years before, maybe 4 years
Yeah,
before
that's-
it would be doing what it's doing now for this maybe.
So we would have to keep track of asparagus that typically is there in the ground. You're gonna have to have something like this to dig it out. Everything. All the beautiful, beautiful trees, the kids that come up with the raised beds, it is a positive for Postville. That's my thinking. It's positive for kids. The kids loved walking. I'm sorry, they loved walking because we took either popsicles on the way up, and then they had a tree up at the garden, fresh mushmelon that just wanted all over. It is a good thing, but I don't know where we would be able to honestly have something place that would be as good as what it is. But it's up, it can be done. It probably will be done. But just really think carefully. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I threw out the idea of down by the walking trail. The old, does anybody play sand volleyball down there?
Well, they've been there this,
Okay.
yeah.
But would there be room in there any place?
It isn't big enough,
Not near that.
it's not near.
How big is this garden? What, a football field big or?
It's,
Softball.
the outfield and everything of a softball diamond.
Oh, okay.
Is it, 2 acres?
No, I think it's about, I don't know, I'm not.
Little over an
maybe.
acre, yeah.
But what's it gonna cost you to, you're looking for somebody to donate land so the city can get rid of that. But I understand, you know, I'm not a gardener, but I do understand what they're saying. You get, I know, my wife loves asparagus. It takes years to get an
It does,
asparagus
yeah.
bed going.
That was
I mean,
22
that-
years old. I
Yes.
planted the seed the year that we
Yeah.
got the garden in
Yeah.
2000.
I bet, is everybody, did other people know that this was for sale, or was just one individual, that you only got one bid on that?
It was advertised.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt that there'll be, you know, there'd be kind of probably a hiccup in there somewhere. But I think this can all be worked through.
My problem is I wish I knew more about gardening when all this came up. I know, I mean, I can't grow a fake plant, so I didn't know what it took to breed the ground to plant things.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, move the garden, it's not a big deal, but I didn't realize what a big deal it is.
All right, any more public comment? If not, then I guess we'll go ahead and close the public comment part of it. So then we'll go on to item 9, which is resolution,
Open the bid.
open the bid. All right, so we have one bid. And let's see, what more do I need to do here, Darcy? Hey, doctor. We're on the diversity garden.
Okay.
And we just got closed the public comment time or public hearing time, right? And I just opened up the bid.
Okay, so it says here bid of bacon concrete in the amount of $25,000. Willing to haul 10 loads of dirt to new location, dirt supplied by City of Postville from sewer plant. Anything beyond that would be charged by load. Anything attached stays as is. If someone wants something, it will be approved by Corey Bacon. So that's what he wrote in the
I can
Comments.
understand that, Darcy. I understand the 25,000. What happened after that?
says willing to haul 10 loads of dirt to new location, dirt supplied by the City of Postville from your sewer plant. Anything beyond that would be charged by load. Anything attached stays as is. If someone wants something, it would be approved by Corey Bacon.
And if anything is attached, i.e. fence, it would have to stay there.
Mhm.
There's some raised gardens there, some raised beds.
Oh, gosh, yes.
What? Is that considered attached?
I would say it probably is.
See, the shed also, it said the bidder at his own expense would move the diversity garden to the other spot. So is he saying that only 10 loads of compost free from the compost place we take up there. And that's all we get. No
It,
plants
the,
moved, no nothing, no fence, no trees. It's all part of the diversity garden, the shed.
Well, the city hosts the compost, so.
yeah, compost, I think what he was talking about, and then if you read what he wrote here, it's dirt. You know, and we've got a pile of dirt at the sewer plant for dirt, you know, compost, the city will haul the compost down. So there you have it, folks. There's the bid and what he's willing to do, so. So it's up to you guys to accept the bid or not.
So
We'll
what
need
has
a
to be
motion by the resolution.
What has to be moved?
Well, there's about 21 trees that we've had there.
And what
that-
are they?
What?
Are they all fruit trees?
Yeah, those are all fruit trees.
Okay.
I'm not counting any of the other bushes or trees there. There's about 40 of big asparagus plants been there since 2000. There's 9 or 10 rhubarb plants, big ones. There is berry beds that have to be moved. Right now, there's no place to move them that's fenced in. We can move them to.
All right. I guess though, to move things along, we can go ahead and call for the resolution number 1372-22, a resolution awarding the bid for purchase of the diversity garden. And then I guess it's up to how you vote on that. So we would need a motion for the resolution.
Well, we got more involved here than what we ever expected. And that's for sure we don't need to table it and see what it takes to move the trees and move other stuff.
Just saying that when Rayco brought his post hole digger to dig post holes, sometimes we only went down about 10 feet or 10 inches before we hit 10.
Yeah.
I'm saying that even if you get a tree spade in there, you'll probably be digging up the old dump.
Yeah.
What's gonna go there, do you know?
Was it a city dump after it was a softball field or?
No, before we came to town 50 some months ago, it was the city dump. I didn't know it was the city dump.
I remember
It was the
that when I
softball
was-
diamonds when my daughter played.
I remember it being a dump.
There's a gun range at one time,
Yeah, that's what I thought, because you have ammo casings.
that was 60 years ago.
7 years ago it was a dump.
Yeah, it's had a number of different things there. Yeah.
They
Got a
got a
history.
grant and they hauled in the ground from when Meyer was making his pond out there. They hauled the ground in with that grant that on top of the softball diamond, or else that wouldn't have been fit ground to garden in either because it wasn't good ground. You
Right. Yep.
Go down in that and it's bad.
Yeah.
You didn't say anything about moving the fence, right?
The
Not
fence,
moving anything.
fence would stay.
Wasn't that in the instructions?
You're probably
No,
getting
we
better
said-
ground.
You guys said you didn't want it because it's too hard to
At the
move.
school.
There's
Yeah.
no-
That's what goes.
Well, we-
Yeah.
Not after
Sabbath.
what we brought in there. Like this year, I think they brought 6 loads of compost for us to garden. We've been putting compost on it every year. Lots of loads. My gardeners have found out it's like black gold when the compost comes.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
They use it really well.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
And I would say that probably some of these 17 Mexicans or Guatemalans where I don't see them at the food pantry now, will probably have to use the food pantry to get food if they don't have a garden to garden, if they have children.
Yeah, sure. But as we have to move along, and so it's either, bring up the resolution and vote the way your heart tells you.
What brought about I need to catch up on the history. What brought about the desire to sell it in the first place? Were we approached by Bacon?
I was walking up there one day and he had, mentioned it, And then we brought it to you guys,
Make a motion to approve resolution 1372-2 so we can
Move along.
talk about it and
Okay.
make a vote.
There's a motion, there's our second.
Was there a second?
I haven't heard one. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Any further discussion then?
After hearing everything, I think it's gonna probably be more detailed, like Larry said. It might take a year or two of transitioning here, of getting something else established before maybe the community's ready to sell this and move on to a different site. Not certain if that's something Corey would entertain or not, but I mean, this is probably the biggest turnout we've had for a council meeting, and I think majority of you are here due to that circumstance. We're elected to represent you, and I think we need to do that, I guess, and see what we can work out with Corey, and see if we can work with the school and make this a transitional thing over the next year or two. But
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to, with Corey's not, we don't need to have, you're here and that's great. Okay, we need to talk to Corey too. We don't want to, we're trying to not be in a position of making everybody mad and still, accomplish something or to support a business, but we also have to support you. So I'm not sure how much his need is for that, other than it connects some of his properties, Right, it's like an island in between two properties of his, am I right?
yeah,
A big island,
Yeah.
So.
I think a fence and water are really, really important for us because, without that, we just know
Oh,
use
yeah.
plant and seed in this town.
Right.
Right.
It disappears. If we do the work, why?
Right. Council, any more discussion?
So do you need a motion if we want to table it? Is it,
No, we're gonna vote on it.
We gotta
or
vote
vote
on
on
it.
it?
This is going to be roll call, so
Are you ready?
no more discussion, right?
No.
We're ready for the roll call.
Okay. Engelhardt,
No,
Engstrom,
Because I work up there with the school garden, I'm gonna recuse myself from the vote.
abstaining. Malcolm,
no,
Mar, Moore,
No. I think it should be stated in the minutes of the meeting that the vote is based on need for further exploration of the options and details to work out with Mr. Bacon and with the diversity garden people. It's not that we're. against
yeah, I don't think it's a no that's forever no. It's a,
What's that?
I don't think it's a no that would be forever no. It's
Right,
how can
right.
we accommodate the
This
garden
time it's not-
to happen.
we're not getting things accommodated, right?
All right. So that is a no vote. All right.
And I guess the other thing I would note in there is, in all fairness to Corey, that if we do move forward, that his bid would be honored if he wants to do that, because it has been disclosed that
Right,
it's not fair to take bids again and somebody
It's
bid
a fair bid.
30,000 or whatever for it,
Right. That's not the reason.
right.
All right.
Thank all of you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's go on to item 10 and postal childcare, Christie.
one for everyone, so.
We can share there, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you all for your time. I'm just gonna introduce myself. I'm Christy Turner. I'm the director at the Postville Child Care Center. I've been there just over a year now, and I would say when I first started, I wanted to address right away staff, what they needed, what I could give to them. I felt like if I could give the staff what they needed, then they would be able to do their jobs and care for our kids. So in my first year, that was my main goal. And with the help of the board, we made some good strides in that area. We went from a base pay of $9 an hour, it's now 10, and that happened a few months ago. We also came up with a tier system, so depending on a teacher's experience, education, performance, we are able to pay them more. So we have a couple of our lead teachers making $14 an hour. So we're very excited about that. We also want to do lots of other things, but really what I want to do is give you some information about our center specifically, and then talk about these slides that I provided for you. So in the year that I've worked there, to say that I love the place would be an understatement. I love the Child Care Center, and I feel like it's such an important job and an important role, an important thing for the community, an important resource for the community. So I'm here speaking in front of you, but I feel like I'm here as a voice for our teachers, for our families, for our children, and for the very nervous families and mothers out there who have no idea what they're going to do for childcare, which we'll speak more about that in these slides. To give you some information about our Child Care Center specifically, we have 46 children currently enrolled in our center. We are licensed, DHS licensed for 80. We have a small number of families that qualify for child care assistance, and same then for free and reduced meals. Those are the two state-run programs where we could get a steady flow of income, but because we have a very low number of families that qualify for that, we don't get reimbursement in that way. So our fixed income, our child care rates, the money that families pay. We are striving for quality. Quality Safe program is incredibly important to us, and we do that in a number of ways. When I first started, I paired with our child care resource and referral consultant, Terry Orr. She's a godsend. And she comes in and she talks to me about how I can offer, what I can do in the classroom, things I can do with our teachers, trainings that we need, trainings that I need in order to provide a quality safe program. So she comes in often. They have rearranged classrooms. That way our furniture and toys are developmentally appropriate for the ages in that room, that we have supervision that's appropriate for the room, and all of these things that, again, are geared towards quality safe programming. Another thing we have done in the last few months is in every single classroom, a CDC milestone checklist has been uploaded to the iPad in the rooms, and each child has a profile, so the teachers in there are monitoring milestones. We are a learning center. We are a learning center as well as a nurturing environment. So those are just a few things that we really strive for and try to do at our center. There was a time not too long ago where we were in a position where we had to close some rooms. Luckily, we were able to overcome that, but
What was it again?
we almost had to close some rooms.
Okay.
We
Like
were,
classrooms, like classrooms.
yes. So we were in a position where we're gonna have to tell families that we can no longer provide care for their children. We have shortened our hours because we don't have the staff. A lot of this comes down to teachers, staff. There's a certain teacher-child ratio that we follow, and it comes down to our staff. We used to be able to provide care between the hours of 5:30 in the morning until 6 at night, and now we provide care 6 in the morning till 5 at night. And this has impacted our families. Any questions so far about our program? Any information?
What ages do you have there?
We offer programming from the core day is 6 weeks up to 3-year-old. And then on Wednesdays, the school does not have 4-year-old preschool, so we have that wrap care, which means the 4-year-olds come to us on Wednesdays all day. We also have before and after school care for our school agers. So then outside of our core day, we serve ages 5 to 10.
So they're after-school care, or if there's not school, they can come there.
Yes. Yes.
I got snow day or something.
Yes.
Okay.
And the holidays, summer.
Mhm.
Yes. Any other questions so far? Okay.
You said, your main target is 6 weeks old to 3 years old.
For our day program,
Yeah,
for our
day
core day program, yeah. But I will say, our families rely on our 4-year-old care and our 5 to 10-year-old care. It's important for our working families. After school, they can come over to us. It's really slick because teacher walks them up to our childcare center, and then they're there, and then parents come pick them up. So it's very safe handoff. Okay. Let's get into the need. So you all have in front of you the presentation, and I got this from Iowa Women's Foundation. A few months ago, I reached out to the mayor about a grant that was an option for businesses. The business had to apply for it. So the state of Iowa offered a business incentive grant. And after a webinar that I attended for that grant, there were a couple of people from the Iowa Women's Foundation there that I reached out to asking if I could learn more and partner more with them. And out of that, we are now a part of their program. So they are consulting with us, and they gave me this information for when I went and met with businesses. I did meet with a few businesses about that grant. It was $200,000 that they could get over a 2-year time period, where the business would then be able to decide how they wanted to give the childcare as a benefit to their employees. So really the business had to assess the need. Do their employees need early childcare? The ones that I met with, they determined that they did not, and so the grant wasn't a good fit for them. But in those meetings, there were other options presented outside of the grant, and that's what I'm exploring now. So let's go again, let's talk about the need. What you see in front of you is a map, a picture of Iowa, and the little gray area on Allen McKee, where we are, Postville. So we are in what's called a childcare desert. What that means for us is that for every 4 kids, there's 1 childcare slot open. That's a pretty big deficit.
So
So
only
there's
1
a
in
need
4 could get childcare.
1 child for every 4. So if you turn the page then, there's numbers for Allen McKee and for Clayton. They're about the same. So what you see here, the ones that I want you to think about and that stick out to me, is that a little over 70% of our families have both parents working outside of the home. And there's a little over 2,000 who have children between the ages of 0 to 12, which is what is identified as childcare, the need for childcare age. We have kind of comparable. Allen McKee and Clayton are about the same. We have 574 slots available at a deficit of close to $1,700 or 1,700 slots. That's a pretty big number. So that is why we are a childcare desert. And then if you flip to the slide about cost of childcare, 7% is what is considered affordable for families to pay for childcare. And as I mentioned before, majority of our families are paying out of pocket. They're not on state assistance.
So 7% is what is considered affordable. Our families are paying close to 11%. And if we don't get some more help, we will have to raise our childcare rates. And I am very stubborn about not doing that because I don't want our families to have to pay even more. Another thing that sticks out to me is that childcare teachers are the third lowest paid position in Iowa. So the people that we have taking care of our babies make less than someone working at a fast food restaurant. And I would like that to change. This is childcare affects economy. So the next slide talks about how childcare and economy, how they impact one another. And I am just wondering, with all of the places that are hiring, what would happen if I could bring some people off of my wait list and provide childcare for them? What would that mean for the businesses in Postville? So, what I would like to see happen and what the Iowa Women's Foundation has agreed to help us with is to have a special interest about childcare where we can come together and get creative about solutions. There's other communities in Iowa who have done things that we can do. And so what I would like and what I am asking for is that we have someone from the city take special interest in this, and I can gather a group of interested individuals so we can begin solving this problem here. Any questions? Questions I'll try to answer.
So what you're saying is you want someone from the city to partner with you?
With myself, with someone from Iowa Women's Foundation.
Foundation.
I have talked to the school. The school helps us out a great deal. We are in that building rent-free. They, upkeep the building. They're also building a cool pirate ship in the spring. We'll be out there, so they're revamping our outdoor space. The teachers walk the kids up and down, making sure that they're safe, and then we aren't having to do that, which is a big deal. So, but they are more than happy to partner with us in this way. Get individuals who care about the childcare center, who want to see it grow, who want to be able to provide childcare for our families, really, and then be able to stabilize our economy, get back to our economy. There are some people in the business community who have said that they're interested, so I'm identifying people who would like to be a part of this. One thing that the Iowa Women's Foundation let me know other communities have done is called a community fund. And what that entails is businesses and whoever really can donate money or pool money into a fund that is housed in the city that then licensed childcare providers or whatever, like the city can decide what the qualifications are. The city can then, the childcare provider would apply for, let's say I had a teacher and I could only afford to pay them $10 an hour, but really they should be making more like 15. I could then apply to this fund and subsidize that wage. So that's an idea, but there's lots of ideas. And I think the representative, her name is Sherry Penny. Her whole job is to help businesses understand the need and understand how it impacts them and what they can do to invest in childcare and why it's important. And she's on board with meeting with us. So the last thing I want to leave you with is we filled out some spreadsheets provided by the Iowa Women's Foundation. And our goal is to raise the base rate. So now it's 10, but I want to get it more to 13 so that we can start competing with like Quick Start, Casey's, the fast food restaurants, to get it to 13. And then also, the teachers who need to get a bit more, be able to pay them a bit more as well. But according to that spreadsheet, if we stayed enrolled with the number that we have at 46, which is all that we can handle right now, because of our staffing situation. And if we did not charge families any more money, because again, we want to keep them at 11%, we don't want to go higher than that. We're at $177,000 deficit. We need to somehow figure out how to get another stream of income to do this. It seems like a big task, but I really think if we come together, we can do it. Any questions for me?
The businesses that you approached, they were not interested in this?
They were not interested in it because their employees did not show a need for early childcare.
So where are those people that have the need? I'm not denying that there's a need. I'm trying to figure out where's the biggest business connection that does have the need. And maybe it's all diverse into many little businesses that,
Yes.
you know, that's what drives this whole country is lots of small business.
Correct. Yep. So I would say, you know, we put the word out there about the business incentive grant. I don't know that we got everyone who would have interest or would have a need, like work that would
We need to talk to Agra,
talk to Agra,
Norplex,
talk to Norplex, the school,
school, okay.
talk to Hall Roberts. Which Hall Roberts, in order to qualify, you had to have at least 75 employees.
Qualified to get this.
Reached out to Ziegler, Casey's, Quick Start.
Prairie Farms, you know, there starts to be not in their school district, you know, but there's still probably close to people employed there
Well, and
for a number.
to be honest, so a large number of children are teacher kids. So from the school, and the school is not able to do more because of some different laws that they have to abide by. So they were not able to do it. Then there's farmers, there's Winnebago Medical Center, which we did meet with. There's Realcore, which we did meet with. So just because that was the option doesn't mean that's the only option. And I think my point is businesses could come together, or just community members could come together and invest in our teachers, invest in our, there's not a lot of funding out there to subsidize teacher wages. So it's not like a grant I could apply for to come up with this money. This would be something I would have to find elsewhere. We do participate in the food program. We participate in, we allow childcare assistance, which is through the state. Anything else you can add or can think of?
I would think it's fair to call our teachers, you know, actual teachers. I think a lot of times that our daycare workers get labeled as just babysitters or, you know, that kind of thing, and that's not the case at all. There is program, you know, they're building their own programs and they're going by milestones, and, you know, they have the most precious, you know, commodity to us as a society. I'm not just pointing my own child out there, but yeah, I think, you know, these people do deserve more than, you know, way more than we can even provide them. And, you know, I put Christy in that category too, because I should probably introduce myself. I'm Susie Brandt. I'm the daycare board president. So, yes, honey. And can you have all the data? So yeah, that's, I have two children that, you know, obviously that attend as well. And, you know, I can just attest to the fact of what these teachers do and the amount of caring and love, and the fact that I know when I bring my children there, they're safe and they're learning and they're loved. And that's really, really important to me. So So, coming as a parent and as the president of the board, so.
I have a question. If you were to start, let's say that you started paying them, you started to say 9 and maybe they get 10 up to maybe 13, 14. If you were to offer like $13 or $14 an hour and they would take the job, you could get the people off of the waiting list and you'd have more income. So
why aren't we doing it?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Well, I guess I just want you to think about what it would be like if that person started the job, then decided that, whoa, this is a lot more than what I ever anticipated. And also, I don't have any of the training or experience. Because that's what we get people sometimes who have never had a job before,
Mm-hmm.
who have no experience in early childhood.
And they won't accept $9 a.
No, but I won't pay them more because.
Oh, I wouldn't either. But I guess I was thinking more qualified people, get hired more qualified people. If you could get them to come work, then you'd have more money coming in with the people off your waiting list.
Well, and we could do a thing where we say, okay, you're off our waiting list unless our teacher situation changes, and then you're the first to go. That's just, right. It's so I lie awake at night sometimes dreading the fact of calling a family and saying, you lost your spot, we can't provide care for you. So that's kind of the dance I get in when I'm thinking about pulling people off of our waiting list is this going to be sustainable? Then they're going to go back to work. Then I'm going to have to call them and tell them, hey, our teacher situation changed. And then so I like to make sure that our teachers are pretty stable. And
so you wait till they're there long enough so that they don't quit before you. I see.
Yes. I am also trying to invest in our teachers. So the state of Iowa has a program out there called Teach, which will pay for college for our teachers. And so I have identified 4 teachers who are interested in it. And we did meet with St. Paul Lutheran Church, who gave us some money that we are going to allocate towards Teach to invest in our teachers. After you start doing some getting some college credit in early childcare, there's another program out there called Wages, and that will subsidize your income. So let's say, like again, I can pay my teacher $10 an hour. They get so many credits, they apply to Wages, and they can subsidize some of that. What we are finding though is until we can solve the hourly rate problem, people are not getting into early childcare. Why would you go to college, get an associate degree, get a bachelor's degree, to then come and work in a center making $10.50 an hour? We would be able to pay more, and no health benefits, no retirement, which we also decided to change. We are going to provide retirement to our teachers, but that's kind of the landscape of it right now. Who's going to go to college for that? So first, I have to kind of lay some groundwork and do the retirement, look into health benefits, increase up the wages, so people are attracted again to this line of work.
So what's the ratio for teacher to student on different ages?
If a child is between the ages of 6 weeks to 24 months, it's 1 to 4. If they're 2 to 3, then it's 1 to 6. If it's 3 to 4, then it's 1 to 8. 4-year-olds are 1 to 12. 5 and older are 1 to 15. The majority of our wait list and our children are 0 to 1 or 2. Yes. Mm-hmm. So the majority of them are the 1 to 4 ratio.
Well, there has been a baby boom.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you, COVID.
Yeah.
So what's the rate for the 6 weeks to 2-year-olds?
If you
Hourly
do
rate?
5 full days, it's $190 a week.
And that's 40 hours based on? Or is it?
They can come anywhere between the hours of when we open to when we close. So it could be maybe 12 hours.
Okay.
The cutoff is noon. So if they come anywhere past noon.
All right, so Christy,
Yeah.
great presentation. Can you tell us again, what are you asking from us?
I would like someone to show interest and be a part of my childcare task force when we start to try to figure out this.
Yeah.
situation.
Well, I think you'll get that for sure. And the thing is too, and you know this, that, with your business the way it is, and it's honestly, this is no different than the closing of Good Sam.
That's what I was thinking.
You didn't have enough workers to keep people there to keep the door open. So to be sustainable and things like this, and I commend you. You really need to look way beyond grants. Grants are a 2-year Band-Aid, maybe. And it's like, how bad are we going to get screwed on this one? Because it's like, your workers have to pass so many things. And that was set up by the government that forgot to send you money.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think what you're
so-
speaking to are all the trainings.
Yes,
that are
that's
required.
exactly what
Yes.
I'm speaking
So
of.
DHS
Yes.
has
Yeah.
Hours of trainings that are required.
You bet.
And on top of that, we apply for a certain quality rating score. IQ 4K is what it's called now, where they go even above and beyond that. So our teachers are highly trained.
Yeah. So, we can identify problems. We've got to try to
Solutions.
supply some money here, right? You will get help. Personally, yes. And then as we go through this, we really need to get this thing where is sustainable.
I would implore businesses to look at the future.
I would
think about
too,
the
yeah,
future.
yeah.
Let's try to get some younger families staying or coming, to Postville
Yeah.
and when you have that, you have a great quality childcare and.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
So.
One other question, are donations to the childcare tax deductible? Do you know?
It's a great question. I can figure that out for you.
Because that would drive donations a little more as well.
Or 2013C.
501(c).
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Sorry,
right.
guys.
So it should be then.
You should be,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
make sure you
nonprofit,
promote that
so.
because people are willing, especially this time of year, businesses.
I will say that the community has been helpful and generous. I just think we need to go understand the need a little bit more, have
Right.
some of this information understand.
And it's everywhere. Walk on, Decorah, the two bigger towns in our communities or areas both struggle with the same thing of finding, especially that age range. Some of them are putting in before they're even pregnant of trying to find a spot.
I would recommend that, actually.
Right.
That's what I tell people.
Right.
If you're even thinking about it, put yourself on wait list.
Right.
Well, I'm still kind of surprised that the business didn't think this. They can't get workers, and part of the problem is because we can't have daycare. I'm just surprised at that.
Should
a
have had you
business
just
would
tag
say
along
that.
with me.
Yeah,
There's a
I don't
good
know.
one for you.
And it says a lot about this community when people drive through and see what our daycare looks like compared to every other town around. So many people have asked me, is that really your daycare? I said, yeah, that,
It's a great building.
yeah, it's clean,
Yes.
it's new, fairly new, but, yeah.
And when we get that pirate ship out there.
Oh,
it's gonna
man,
be
that'll
even-
be
It's gonna be really
People get
cool.
stuck.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and there's communities that don't even have a daycare center.
Well, that's
It's just
true.
all
That's
based off
true.
of home base.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, so.
Alrighty.
Well,
Is it
thank
possible
you.
to comment from back?
Sure.
Okay, Val, Economic Development, I'm actually here with my coworker Michelle, and we actually touched this a lot too. And kudos to Postville for having Christy and a really fabulous board. So whatever we can do to rally and get people on the same page, because it is a complicated issue and it's not an easy fix, obviously.
Mm.
But we definitely need people to understand the story. And they may not be able to help in some respects, but if people could rally and if we can get people going, I just think that is a huge piece of this puzzle because we've all sat around a table with legislators and things like that, and we know how that went. Well, who's got the money? And it's frustrating, but what she's been talking about, I mean, hours and hours and hours, but Postville's got a fabulous childcare with a great administrator, with a great board, because when you walk in and the board is working to keep them open that day, that's pretty amazing. So kudos.
What's the best way to contact if somebody does want to be a part of helping with your,
You can call the center and ask for me.
what's the center's number?
563-864-7668, maybe 9. One's our fax and one's our phone number.
If you hear a buzz, call it.
It's on the internet, everybody.
Yeah,
It's
it'll
on
be there.
internet, yes.
All right.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on then to item 11, and that is fire department truck. Randy?
My name's Randy Clark, truck committee along with Darwin, Kevin, and Kirk. This goes back to, probably a little year and a half or so ago. The previous chief Ben come to the department and said that the city okayed us to start looking to replace the rescue van. Okay, I was not on the committee to start with. There was a set of blueprints or specs drawn up at that time. And it turned kind of like from into, got looking at the gauges of the truck, the pumper, the Jaws truck, the rescue van, and it turned into a pumper rescue. Okay, the rescue van is a 1989. Miles on these don't mean squat because they don't get driven. It's got 91,000 on it. The Jaws truck, we got that from an McKee County. It was a vehicle that Waukon had, all of McKee County had it. That's 1990. It's got 7,555 miles on it. And the pumper, the main one that goes out the door, is a 95. Of October 95, got 21,584 miles. So what the deal is the truck's, it's getting old. It has black piping underneath it that supplies water to the pump, puts fire out, and water electrolysis deteriorates that. We do have some of that going on with this truck. We did some work on it here a few years back. Reggie was able to repair it, but it's not going to take care of the problem. Okay, it's like skin cancer. I got a little spot here. I get it removed. My whole arm is exposed to it. So this is going to eventually deteriorate, and somewhere down the road, practice fighting fire, that it could go completely or whatever, the pipe break. That's for, like structure fires in the country, the rural, we have mutual aid most of the time coming in. So anyway, what we were thinking, I think the board, and they'll be able to speak if they got any other questions or want answers. Thought that the money was available for this. The rural board kind of was thinking the same, I think. So then I got on the board. We also went and some of the things we needed that we wanted to change, it turned into, like I said, rescue pumper, which would replace the 3 vehicles. It would replace the old pumper, the rescue van, and the Jaws truck would be all designed to go into one. At that part of it, we kind of changed a few things that we added to it, took away from it. Dale Durner is out of Grit, Iowa. It's way western Iowa. It's probably a 4 to 4.5 hour drive out of here. Is where these Twine trucks are made. So we have them bid it. We're going to send out other bids, to get a generic bid to get other bids on it. So like replacing the 3 into the 1. I come over to have Darcy to see if she would run, bids off to send these out elsewhere. And we had a conversation and she said that the city had not known anything about this. I talked to Dennis on that previous Monday, and he was correct that you obviously didn't know that we were speccing out a new truck.
The only thing I heard was, you had a fundraiser, it was for a new truck. What's your,
Our canvassing, we have, I think the last couple of years, we do have a truck fund. that,
I
you
mean,
know-
when we came to the open house.
Yeah, okay, that's what the money is going towards a new truck. And
And that's that's the only
Okay.
thing I had
so the
heard.
city would have a portion in it, the road have a portion in it, and the department would pitch money into it also. Our canvassing fund drive was some money, we designate something every year, and that was gonna go towards a new truck. Dale priced the truck that we had, spec'd out at $465,000 is what this truck is gonna cost. The Freightliner chassis, everything on it that we would need, 2 fight fires. I think that was like maybe a 90-day hold on it. So anyway, going back to, if the financing isn't there, it isn't there. So what we're here for tonight is to see where do we go from here. And I know we're trying to get organized to go in on our own, and that's still in the makings. Very much still talking with Dennis and that. Like I say, I think we all thought, correct, that the money was there, but it's not. And talking to Darcy on that, we figured that out that day too. And I know I thought Travis was going to be here tonight on the rural part of it, but we all want to get on the same page. That's why we're here talking. What's it take? Well, obviously, the goal is what, July 1st to be on our own. So that'll be a whole different ballgame. I mean, the money from the city, the rural, and our money goes into one kitty. And then our trucks and all our stuff would be bought out of that. And what they're going to be like representatives from the city, whether a couple from there, a couple from the rural, or how is that?
I believe if I remember right how it was written up. Now you're talking about walk-ons, right?
We're similar to
Similar to,
yes,
and that's
yes.
that's how I remember reading that. Yeah.
That's how we're kind of basing what
Yeah.
we want to do here, basing ours on also. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, has that been decided who or what?
No, no. I think Randy, so it's the lawyers putting this language together. When we get that back, we are everybody, you're gonna have your rural board, you'll have your firemen and us, these guys here.
Okay.
You're gonna, everybody's gonna be knowing what's gonna happen here.
And that's what I guess then going back to the truck, that's basically a no go at this point.
Yeah. Well, we didn't, because there's no money.
I mean, you guys,
One of the other things we'll be looking at is a FEMA grant too. Hopefully that will,
Isn't that you, Corey?
What's that?
FEMA, isn't that you?
Not all those grants go through.
Oh,
but yeah, we'll be looking for grant
We
money.
were
to
gonna
buy it.
give you a donut, Corey.
They sound like they got it underhand. I got enough grants to do.
What we're going at here is because July, and that's nothing's gonna happen between now and then, so basically, the money wasn't set forth or what have you, so
Right.
that part of it's done. I mean, that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I thought there was.
Well, there is some money put aside each year,
$10,000
correct?
A year, put away towards the purchase of a new truck.
Right, we probably have what, 50,000 between us and then the rural.
From the
price,
time the
50.
last-
We probably
from
got
the time
about
the last truck was
100,000
bought,
total.
right?
So that's nowhere near
Well,
465,000.
what happens is 10,000 doesn't even catch up to the price of the truck increasing.
Right, yeah.
They're increasing faster.
Like I say,
than
I think it was like a 90-day hold, if I'd have to ask Dale for sure now, but what that did, so yeah, after, it's gonna be higher. I mean, thinking about. There would be options there. I know Decor did this. They had a tanker or a truck, a pumper that had black piping too. They sent it back in and they repiped it. They used black pipe on it again. That would be an option if it did, I mean, like I say, it's like skin cancer. You got one here, that doesn't mean, your whole arm is exposed to it. And that piping, it's rotten. It's 95 and I'm not using them up, but still it deteriorates. That would be an option there. That truck does go down. We do have the pumper tanker. What year is that? I didn't write that down. 2012. 2012. And Jeff Moore was chief then. I sat on that committee. We kind of designed that. We wrote it as a pumper, as a tanker pumper, because we were able to get a grant easier for that, which we did get grant money. That truck, we backed it in the station, payment free. We owned it. All we did was that water truck. That was kind of designed at that time to be our main runner when this one would go down the road. We would still have a tanker that would back that. It's always nice to have 2 tankers rolling out the door behind a pump on a rural fire, because there's not been one fire in the country, house fire, structure fire, that we have not run out of water. And we have mutual aid coming in also, but we're looking, that truck holds 2,100 gallons on it, the pumper tanker. If that goes to a main runner, And the tanker that we have is 2,000 plus gallons on it. That way, but like I say, if the main pumper goes down, we still are covered, but we still need to get updating our vehicles, whether we go to like I say, that'll be a whole different ballgame when we get into the general or whatever we call it. Just go to a pumper, or like a rescue jaws truck or what have you. But, I guess we just wanted to touch bases and get on the same page because
Very good.
nobody knows what the hell's going on.
That's a fact.
If you, if
And that
you
was,
sold all three of those trucks, how much would you get?
what's
Not
that?
very
You
much.
sold-
Yeah, no, you wouldn't get nothing out of these
Okay.
trucks
All
here.
right. They too old?
Yeah. I mean, they don't get a lot of miles on them, but you turn the key in them, you want them to start, and they go balls to the walls. I mean, it's as simple as that. You need them, you go,
Yeah. Yeah.
But they don't get, well, like say in 1989, I only got 91,000.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, you wouldn't get nothing out of them that way for resale.
Fire equipment's expensive when you buy it, and when you get rid of sell it, it ain't worth
It
it.
depreciates out fast, yeah.
So one use item.
So then, yeah, that money then, and I say this is all in the writing and the language, understand all that. So everything that's set aside on the city end of it, and we'd have to talk to the rural that says like, that would all go into that one check, I'll just say checking account, that one account.
Yeah.
So then the city would be clean and green of everything, the rural would be clean, it would all be the one kitty. Okay.
It would be fair in assuming that if the city has put away 50,000, that the rural would have 50,000.
Real does have 50,000.
Yeah, so I mean,
But I mean, yeah, whatever it would
10,000
be,
every year, we match it.
Yeah.
all the CDs, all whatever money was designated for the department that we didn't use, it's in that would all go into that kitty.
And I know Post Township is maxed out.
Which that's where you want it.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't come up and help you. That goes with the 50,000. I mean, that money that we give is part of the 10,000 that goes into the kitty.
Yeah.
Every year, so Post Township is maxed out
Yeah. I understand.
too.
Yeah, I guess that's basically what that's based on, so.
Yeah. Good, that's,
Let's talk to Dale, I'll talk to Dale Durner, the sales rep tomorrow. And I'll let him know.
Set up a
He
meeting
know-
with people from both organizations once we get going on this.
yeah,
He knows what's going on somewhat too already, or what I told him we were gonna meet with the council or whatever, so. Then that was the direction of the previous chief, We just,
what would be the timetable that you'd be looking for this truck?
crap, you'd be looking a year and a half, then or 2 years down the road.
2 or 3 years down the
Okay.
road before it'd be here.
Two, yeah. Now Claremont just got theirs and theirs was over a year out, wasn't it? Oh, Matt, you would know that.
A lot of
Claremont's
Claremont.
truck, theirs was over, I think, about a year and a half out.
Yeah, they got it this
Spring, so.
Yep.
Like I say, there's options there, just whether or not, I don't know what it costs to repipe or plumb, but, the pumps are certified every year, and as long as they're certified, pump with them for another year,
so does that black piping would affect the pump after a while also, not, or?
It's electrolysis of the water that deteriorates. the
Yeah,
piping. But yeah, it takes a toll on the.
You can
pump
tell every
too.
year from your pump
Yeah.
testing whether you're losing anything.
Yeah.
Sure.
It deteriorates in the pump and
Yep.
everything, it's just, water wears when you pump, it cuts.
Sure.
I mean, that's. So anyway, I guess that's long and short.
I got one other question that concerns the fire department. We would like to put soft water in the station, and corporation's willing to pay for it. We want to know if we can get an okay from the city to put that in.
It's not on the agenda.
We'll put it on the agenda for next month.
Okay.
Then we had talked previous, and that was Darcy, and she said it had to be presented.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a whole different ballgame then?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, yeah, thanks, council. We look forward to, working and still, if we're going to general, you're still gonna have money going into it to keep everybody on the same page.
Right.
We have to talk,
That's right.
good or bad, in between.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Randy.
Randy.
Thank you, guys. All right. I think I already scratched that. So we're item 12 we're on, right?
Yeah.
So we had a public hearing for the budget amendment.
Open it up.
I'm gonna open her up. Yep. So we got a budget amendment coming up, so we're opening the public hearing for the budget amendment. Any comments on that? And I maybe have Darcy comment a little bit on.
Sure.
on that.
So this is our first budget amendment of the year. So basically, we increased our revenue and expense for the land purchase, increased our revenue and expenditures for RAGBRAI, increased our revenue for the landscaping fees, the new utility that was established. The tree, increased revenue for the tree utility that we established. That was
For the grinding compost.
Increased expenditures for insurance due to the increase that'll be happening here in January, and increased revenue and expense for the COPS grant funding. So overall, $51,738 change in your current budget to the new budget amendment.
All right.
Well, like the list, I thought it'd be more.
Based on your revenue and expenditures out, the additional amount we're expending is $51,738. So,
Not bad. Right.
do you want to close or?
Yeah, any other if no other comments, I'll then go ahead and close the public hearing, and then we'll have to act on resolution number 1373-22, resolution adopting the budget amendment, number 1 for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. So is there a motion?
I move we adopt resolution 1373-22.
Second?
You get a second?
Not yet.
I will.
Okay. Any further? Oh, that's roll call.
Engelhardt,
Yes.
Engstrom,
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
Mar,
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
All right. Pass that one then. Okay. Then item 13 on the agenda is resolution number 1370-22, a resolution to transfer the funds.
So basically, we're adding that one transfer, which would be your debt service coming in for the bonds, transferring it into a capital fund for the land purchased. That's the one change I'm making on your transfers in your budget. So I need a motion to approve the resolution for the transfer.
So moved.
Go ahead, Ron.
Ross made the motion. There's a second.
Second.
Larry. Any further discussion? This is just,
Roll call.
okay.
Engelhardt,
Yes.
Engstrom,
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
Mar,
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
All right. Done too. Good. All right. Item 14 is hazardous mitigation. Michelle.
I'll open up for
Okay.
for an introduction here. So, Corey Sticker, Emergency Management Coordinator. For those who don't know me, we're here tonight. I actually was able to make the meeting, so that worked out well for me. I was at a previous one. So, what we're doing is we're currently working on our county's hazard mitigation plan. It's a plan that we have to update every 5 years. So we are nearing the end of this current plan, which will expire next May of 2023. I was able to get a grant in order to hire Upper Explorer Land out of Decorah to do the grant. And fortunately, I was actually fortunate enough to get Michelle, who was the original planner back 5 years ago, who basically rewrote our plan for us. So it's good to have her on board because she's really knowledgeable of our plan, knowledgeable of our county, and it's great to work with. And stuff. So what she's going to do tonight is basically go through the City of Postville's part of this update, and basically I'll turn that over to her then. So I'll just be in the background, kind of I'll chip in when I need to. Otherwise, she'll basically take care of everything tonight. So
Sorry. Hi.
Hello.
Had a long, exciting evening already, so I'll keep this as brief as I can, but it'll probably be at least 20 minutes, so I'll see what I can do. I'm going to pass around the presentation I'm going to go over, and also a sign-in sheet. I guess I'll start with you over here.
Let's take it and pass it down.
Yes, please. It's technically a public hearing or public meeting, and we ultimately submit this to Homeland Security, and I like to see that we got your signatures. You can skip the organization. Sorry, actually, I'll put it back here.
Email likes,
Audience wouldn't mind doing it.
sign in, Ross.
You're just kind of send that All right. Okay, so I'll quickly just give you a brief overview of what the plan is. And then we'll get into any information I have about Postville, and ultimately we want to have you guys aware of hazards impacting your community, and then we talk a little bit about mitigation. So, does everyone in the council have any hand here? Okay. There are two things. One is my presentation, and the second is kind of a blow up of some of the maps, just so you can get a better look at them. And I also have a QR code if anyone wants to scan and look on their phone. It's another way of doing it, so. Put them there and probably forget. Alrighty, so the 4 basic steps for the planning process. One is just organizing, and we do that through a countywide committee. And I don't know if we've had anybody from Postville at these countywide committees yet, committee meetings yet. But if we haven't, we need to get someone from Postville at our countywide committee meeting. If not, we can do an authorized representation situation with you guys still. But we try to involve each of the jurisdictions in the county plan in those meetings. And we kind of invite other folks that might be interested, businesses, residents, school districts are involved and such.
I'll chip in here.
Yeah.
We need representation from the city. Obviously, the only, I'm doing it for the schools, given their lower, I mean, they have a little bit less mitigation requirements than cities do, but we definitely do need somebody from Postville to represent the city. That's my feelings personally. So, again, that would be the best route for us to take care of rather than an authorization.
Okay, we're still gonna have a meeting, so whoever wants to volunteer on behalf of the staff or council. After we get this countywide committee going, we talk about countywide risk. We know a lot of hazards impact all the communities in the county. And then others are very localized. So we start to identify risks we want to include in the plan. We talk about how serious they are. And then ultimately we work to develop mitigation. So basically, what is hazard mitigation? I'm kind of flipping through here. It's basically stopping that cycle of damage, and then we reconstruct and spend a lot of money and time making things good again, but we don't actually avoid the problem. So that's what hazard mitigation is, getting ahead of that cycle. So for the timeline, Cordy kind of mentioned that we're aiming for May being done, but we're at a point here of having gone through understanding risk in our county with the countywide committee. We're going to move into mitigation strategies. We're visiting each city in the county here in November and December so we can get your local take on the situation, basically. Part of, if you look in the plan, which you probably won't, it's a hefty plan, but you have your own chapter. So Postville has a chapter in there. We summarize what we call community capabilities. So what do you have? You just had your, I'm assuming, fire chief up here talking. Law enforcement. What other things do you have? And you can even be assessing what you have through city services and such. So we look at what you have to respond to disasters, and we also look at those populations that might be vulnerable, whether it's a school, whether it's a senior home, whether it's a mobile home park or something like that, or is there infrastructure, community facilities that are in the floodplain. So these are the type of things we're trying to review with the communities, and it will be in your chapter. So in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to just go over some of the information I have for Postville. I do my best to investigate ahead of this meeting to make sure I'm up to date, but I just heard that your Good Samaritan Center is closed as November, so that is in my map. You will see that. So this is why I come to these meetings. We want to make sure we have all of that information checked off the list. So if you guys want to take a look at the first map, it is just showing all of your public facilities, and it would be one of the large maps. And did people in the audience get these packets in case you want it?
I asked anybody want a copy. Does anybody want a copy?
We should have a couple extra going around, yeah, if you're interested. So you can see I've got, one thing I struggle with is identifying all of the schools in your community, so that's one thing I want to check with you guys on. So I have the public schools there, the child care center. Let's see here. And some of this information I can circle back to Darcy on as well at a future time, but I'll go over it briefly right now. I wasn't sure about the alternative school location. Does it have a standalone location?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, can someone please give me that location?
It is.
West Green.
West Green.
Is it? Okay,
104 West Green Street.
okay, thanks. I tried to,
His old office.
right in the corner there?
The Dre House is there and it's.
Oh, it's the second one.
Next
Okay.
building. Yeah.
Thank you. That wasn't easy to find when I tried searching, just so you know.
I think the address in BP is wrong. When I had people
Yeah.
come there, it's like, this is not where.
Keystone Area Education might have it right, I'm not sure, so. All right, so we're getting that down. You guys no longer have a senior center or senior care facility, okay. We got your city hall, library. We have your guys' municipal water tower, and then the above ground storage from 2005 is what we have listed. 8 lift stations. Any updates to that type of information? Okay. And then we look at things like pipelines coming through and power plants and distribution stations and so on. You have a natural gas pipeline outside of city limits, is that correct?
They have natural gas here.
Yeah.
There's pipeline, it runs to
It
walk
goes
on.
all, it doesn't come into the city limits. I don't
It does.
Yeah, it
South
does.
side down here.
On
In the
Aspen.
south side, it's
Comes
in
there
city
and
limits?
then
Okay.
continues north.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's some of the basic stuff. You have your railroad. So we're just kind of assessing all that. We also look at things like if you had a tornado, do you have a community shelter? And we had Turner Hall recorded for you guys, so this building.
Turner Hall
Yeah,
across the
Turner
Oh,
Hall.
street.
that's a
across the
fire?
street,
Is it
yes.
the fire?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Is
It's
that
next to the
still
fire
serving as your shelter
Yes.
location? Okay. Do you have any other additional locations for community? Okay. And then you had the 3 warning sirens at the fire station and 3 generators. I can follow up with Darcy later too. Some detailed information, but sometimes it's not held in one person's hand. Sometimes it's this council member or this
Let me ask,
staff, so.
you said the 3 sirens, you said, or?
Mhm. Yep.
Cause I've never heard the one on our end of the town. Do you ever hear it?
Maybe, I don't know if I'm paying attention. You mean like at noon?
No, I don't think I hear it at noon either, but I'm
Oh.
talking about if there's a
Fire?
fire or something.
And that was the
Or
same
weather.
one that
Weather.
Yeah.
It works.
rang as a
Yeah.
fire during a weather one.
It works.
It works.
I
We
just
checked.
must have my hearing aids out then.
I'm so used to it.
That's it, I'm so used to it.
And none in the works, Corey, or anything? You would know that. And then we got the 3 generators at the fire station, Turner Hall, and the waterworks. Anything new since last plan update? Okay, all right, well, we get all that in there. I think this is a good opportunity for councils to kind of hear it too. What do we have going on? So I take the time to pluck through that stuff. All right, thanks for that feedback. If you keep going here, we'll talk a little bit about hazards in our community. So we had this countywide committee identify hazards they wanted to look at in this countywide plan. What I did was provide them some introductory information about a variety of hazards included in the statewide hazard mitigation plan for Iowa. And I wanted to just read off the list of hazards that they believe impact a lot of our communities. Animal plant crop disease, landslides, dam failure, levee failure, drought, river flooding, extreme heat, severe winter storms, flash floods, sinkholes, hailstorms, thunderstorm lightning, hazardous material events, tornadoes, transportation incidents, infrastructure failure, windstorms, mental health, and human disease. Those last 2 were newly added to our countywide plan. Human disease came up with the discussion of COVID, obviously. And mental health is something that's been coming up in a lot of planning conversations I've had around our communities in this region. So I'm trying to delve a little bit into the information on that. And a lot of these piggyback on each other, right? How do you separate hail from thunderstorm and lightning? So winter storm from, ice and stuff. So, yep, it's kind of hard to separate it, but we do our best. And then we take a look at the degree of risk and how often these occur. Ultimately, I had them look at kind of this heat map. It's this colored rectangle here. So the big things that we ask them to consider is how probable is something. We look at disaster declarations, historic occurrences, data you can find. And then we look at the impact. So is it low impact to significant impact? And something like a tornado, this is an example, that has a very low probability of happening, right? I think there's been 12 in the last 150 plus years in Alameda County, but the impact, significant. So they're looking at this heat map and they're going, okay, well, it's low probability, but when it does come, wow, it can be bad. It can take people's lives. So they're placing a point on this heat map for that hazard. And they did that with each of the hazards. I always provide sinkholes as an opposite example. So there's over 10,000 sinkholes in the county. And you guys are
Really?
kind of in an epicenter of sinkholes
Really?
around here, yes. But they're localized impact, right? I mean, you hardly ever hear about that killing someone or really
No.
impacting property. So that's when we look at it and go, the probability is crazy high, but that's not going to have a big impact. So that's what they're doing. They're trying to basically prioritize risks for the county as a whole. And this is the way we prioritize them for our county as a whole, keeping in mind that you might have local feedback that's different. High risks were flash flooding, river flooding, infrastructure failure, transportation incidents, and hazardous materials. Medium risk was drought, tornadoes, human disease, animal plant crop disease, windstorms, hailstorms, winter storms, and mental health. And low risk was considered dam and levee failure, landslides, thunderstorms, and lightning, extreme heat, and sinkholes. So that's kind of, this is your opportunity. I'll go over some information now that I gathered about Postville, but this is your opportunity this meeting to say, wait a minute, like sinkholes are a huge risk for Postville, and this is why. We do like to incorporate that in your chapter, and maybe it'll lead to mitigation discussion. So if you're curious, what you had listed as hazards from your last plan update was, and I also kind of categorized this according to the high risk, medium risk, low risk. You had hazardous materials, and you said the railroad goes through town in close proximity to residential, commercial, and industrial development, and questions around whether threats were present due to hazmat products that would be carried on the trains. Also, the city has several large fixed industrial facilities operating with potential hazmat materials. In medium risk, you talk about windstorms and tornadoes as a concern. Meeting attendees rated potential impacts to properties from those things.
I'll chip in here. If you're not aware of the fact that CP Rail, which obviously is a rail that goes through here, did merge with another company. Obviously, they're still actually the smallest of what they consider tier 1 railroads. So the merger wasn't like it dramatically increased in size. It's still the smallest. The biggest thing, obviously, it gave it a direct connection into Mexico. So they now basically kind of ended in the middle of the United States. Now they actually have access to Mexico. I know it is going to affect the true north-south running lines as far as traffic. I'm not sure how it's going to affect the east-west, kind of module here, but obviously that is something that is, with the rail. And obviously they know they're going to see a lot more traffic going north and south. Now, whether it's going to be a bigger impact here may not be, because actually I believe it's further south here is where a lot of the traffic is going to head east to kind of connect up in their part of the area. But obviously that is a major change with the railroad is their merger and having access to southern markets. But again, not sure how it's going to affect you guys versus like Lansing, New Albany, and Harpers Ferry, where they are already seeing more rail traffic coming through and stuff because of that merger and stuff. So.
All right, so I'm going to give you some data I collected, and I'm going to try to compare you to the county. So starting with flooding, I look at National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration records. It's not perfect. They depend on localized reporting, which is hit or miss, but it is a kind of reliable data source as they go. So there were 25 flash flood events in the county over 20 years, from 2002 to 21. One was countywide and none were listed for Postville. If you look at regular river or creek flooding, one was countywide, one was specific to Postville. They do show damages in that data set, but the damages were fairly low, around 45,000 if you're interested. This next large map that you have in your little packet is showing the 100-year flood zones in Postville and around your limits. So generally, they really don't extend into the city center for you guys, which I'm guessing is why we're seeing some of the data that's not reporting out big vulnerabilities. So from the last plan, we had the county GIS do an aerial analysis of each community, and they zoomed in and looked at your community parcel by parcel and identified, is there residential in the flood zone? Is there commercial? Is there industrial? And the only thing they identified in all of Postville was a government parcel. I'm guessing it might be your waterworks to the north. I tried to zoom in and do a little bit of looking myself before I came to the north there. So I could always circle back to county GIS to see what property it was, but generally there's no value. When you're looking at the number of parcels and then the valuation, and that's how you're kind of judging your risk for flooding. That said, some communities they look at us and they say, wait, we have flash flooding galore. So you never know what you're going to get when you talk to the communities. So moving on from flooding, hailstorms, they do have some data at that. They look at that according to diameter or inch diameter hail. And there were about 60 events in a 20-year period in the county. 2 were in Postville, a severe event and a destructive event. So destructive is 1.5 to 2.5 inches in diameter. So it's sizable, but you're not, I guess, having many over that period. No damages listed. Then we took a look at things like thunderstorm wind events and funnel clouds and tornadoes. There were funnel cloud and tornado events listed for Waukon across the county in a 20-year period. That was from NOAA. When I look at the National Weather Service records, there were 12 tornadoes since 1850. One had a route through Postville. And there were injuries and a death and property damage with that. So we're not looking at a high probability. You've been impacted sometime in your past with that. The other thing we took a look at, and this is hard to gather, but hazardous materials. So that, as you recall, the countywide committee kind of rated that as high risk. What I did was I looked at DNR information on environmental facilities and known spills, and then the Department of Transportation also has information in transportation incidents. You can see a list there of the over 10 years from 2012 to 21, 9 hazard incidents that occurred in your community. And if you look at the next big map here, the last one, that is DNR information showing a whole bunch of environmental facilities in your community. The green hexagons with the black circles in the middle of them are spills that have happened in Postville.
There what spills?
Yep, so,
I see. Yeah,
yep, and I'll say also about this DNR information, not perfect. Not perfect. It's not always up to date, especially with regards to the community infrastructure. But yeah, those are historic known spills, and you got stuff like underground storage tanks and a whole tier 2 sites and stuff. So you kind of get there, and I'll talk more about that map. But with regards to hazardous material spills, you've had some happening at some of your large fixed facility sites.
So let me say, these underground storage tanks, are those people that have put their natural gas underground or something? It looks like the residential areas.
It could be. I don't really know the definition of underground
just-
storage.
Some of
tank.
these, well, like the one is out there by Casey's, you can see some of those,
Yeah.
the old gas station down in the
Yeah.
corner.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't think of that, you're right.
So, and with regards to the spills, if it helps for perspective, Waukon, I think they had about 9. I counted yours, you guys have about 14 or so. So you have a little higher. Most communities don't have them, but they're small. You guys are a little, you're a little larger if we look at across the county. And they were largely those fixed facility sites with your large industrial.
And you guys obviously win the cake for the county as far as having the most hazardous material potential here, because you have the 2 plants, you have the rail, you have the gas pipeline, you got the co-ops, you got everything. Basically, you guys actually win the cake in the county. You have the most vulnerability of anybody. And Waukon, and because what Waukon does not have the rail. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's where some of these communities that you guys, and they don't have the 2 large facilities. They don't have Norflex, they don't have AgriStar, as far as with what they have there. So, yeah, this is vulnerability wise, very high vulnerability for hazardous materials because of the extent of structures and facilities here. So, yeah, congrats.
And to provide a little perspective, we can take a look at this map. So you have this information, and what do you do with it? I try to show water susceptibility so that, if there's a concern, if that leads to a conversation. This yellow map is showing, first of all, those bright yellow areas in the small square, that is karst area. So that's where the ground allows kind of water to move from the surface to the aquifers potentially very quickly because of how it's made up. And then if there was areas of known sinkholes in Postville, it'll be bright orange, but there aren't any known sinkholes in Postville. But you have that geology that is kind of prone to movement of water going down fast. So then we take a look at DNR has information on source water susceptibility. So that would be essentially considering your drinking water. They look at the depth of the confining layer from the surface down to the aquifer. And you guys don't have any susceptibility according to their information. So that must mean that you have a high confining layer between what's happening. So that's some good news, I think. Some communities have bright orange circles on their map, right in the middle of their community. So they might think a little harder about what exactly this means. But so yeah, you have contaminant sources, you have had some spills. You also have this work in your favor that you don't have very, very susceptible aquifers, at least according to this one data set. So I do think it's worth having this conversation once every 5 years and keep it on your radar, right? Okay, moving to the next slide. We try to understand a little about transportation incidents that was rated high risk by the county, and you guys talked a little bit about that. I looked at rail transportation. You can see the lines here in the county. The green line is going through Postville. It was really difficult to find data on historic rail accidents. But you guys have had, as far as I can tell, 4 over a 20-year period. In 03, 13, 17, those were at Reynolds Street, 2013 at Bancroft Street. But no big injuries or deaths or property damages. So a lot of times these seem to be just like derailments or something like that. These look like they're crossings. So
Would these be vehicles being hit by trains probably?
Now,
Because those are uncontrolled second.
what about the one at Maple, when they had the derailment up there by the co-op?
When it hit the building there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been on Maple.
what year was that, do you know? Or sorry.
That probably was,
It's not showing up on this?
no, I've been before 12.
Oh, okay.
Part of the turkey plant burnt down.
Gotcha, yeah. So I take that again also with a grain of salt, but it's good to be aware of if you're thinking about risk in your community. We also look at transportation incidents. The DOT has a pretty thorough data set of all accidents that occur. They do rely on local like law enforcement to report that. So you guys had over a 10-year period, 106 crashes, 240 occupants, 191 vehicles, 14 injuries, and 17 possible injuries, but no deaths. So it's a high density of accidents. Waupun was a lot worse. So that makes you feel better. They're also a larger community. So yeah, sometimes we'll come to this is we do have this intersection that's been a real challenge. Let's use this as an opportunity to plan for it and talk about it. So I share it with you. I'm not sure how else to get at stuff about transportation risk and stuff.
Oddly enough, in Waukon, the highest incidences of accidents were at the four-way stop equivalents and stoplights. Ironically, are all controlled intersections, yet that's where the highest density of when you really looked at all the red dots. Go figure.
So they apparently don't like the lights, I guess. So there's that. I didn't get a lot more local information for Postville, but that was kind of what I gathered. And if you have questions, I can respond to those. Otherwise, I welcome your feedback on what you were thinking of as local risks, based on your experience as a council, projects you've had to deal with, or just information I shared.
A lot of information.
I know. It's
Is
fun.
there any risk involved with that thing they're running through from the windmills out west?
Oh,
They're
the
burying
the cable?
Yeah, they're burying cable by the.
Oh, the So Green, the
So
high
green,
voltage,
high voltage
Yeah.
fiber
it's
optic,
running the rail.
Fiber
running the
optic,
rail line from Mason City to Illinois? Because we're gonna go,
I am not aware of that. Corey, are you?
No, I've not heard that. The only thing I've actually heard about is there's been a lot of concerns about the carbon pipeline that's rolling through Iowa, but that seems like there's counties that are actually looking at ordinance. I get hits and misses. There will be times where all of a sudden people just sort of be asking questions about ordinances and things like that. I was not aware of that specific thing, but and you guys are not part of the carbon pipeline. That's not in this area here, but I know that's a hot topic for
It is.
23 or 24 is gonna start.
Remember?
So it's gonna follow basically the line that comes through here then. And
Right
then
on the rail line.
is it gonna go south then to get into Illinois then,
Mhm.
like down at Dubuque area possibly?
Yep.
Cross over and it's gonna come from the wind farms out in central Iowa then.
Yeah.
And stuff. So
That's
what's it
all.
called?
It's called So Green.
So green.
SOO.
I'm curious. I haven't heard of that,
this-
so.
Okay, that's the line then. So that's all within railroad right away?
Yes.
Yep.
So they're working with them with
Mhm.
regards to liability and everything, I suppose.
I hope so.
Okay, but you're just curious. Yeah, I might.
I
see if
just
can
asked the
find out.
question. I
Yeah.
didn't know if it was any risk.
And that
at
might
all,
be,
or-
given they're using rail right away, that might be a place where really they're kind of avoiding any type of restrictions because the railroad would be the ones giving them the right to do this, unlike the pipelines, which ultimately are gonna have to run through private property and other things where the counties do have the ability to, again, obviously everything will go to court regardless of what happens, but probably if it's along the rail right away, that's probably how they're gonna circumvent, let's be honest, circumvent basically a lot of issues because the rail's gonna give them permission to utilize that. So, but I'm curious, I'll look into
Yeah,
that.
I
Thank
might,
you.
yeah, we'll see if we can, it's good that we learn too, and if anything shocking comes from that investigation, we'll let you know. Anything else, you guys? Would you still consider the two risks that you listed as things that Postville thinks about, hazardous materials and windstorms, tornadoes?
Well, I think so, yeah.
Mm.
Do you guys have any vulnerable communities with regards to the tornadoes? Sometimes communities are thinking of trying to plan for that.
You mean like the trailer park or
Yep.
something?
Or other areas that may not have access to shelter.
I wish the firemen had stayed.
I know I'm
Well-
talking to them, but what they do is they actually open the building up. And what we find, this is the same in Waukon, because they've obviously got two large trailer parks. Specifically, one next to the city park is very large. Nobody goes to shelters. They don't.
Mhm.
And I mean, the perfect scenario would be to have a shelter right next door. That's one of my goals in Waukon, but everything takes a lot of money. And I'll be honest, probably even then people probably wouldn't go. The issue you run into is when people really need to get to a shelter, they need to be within less than 5 minutes of walking distance. And that's actually the guidelines when you look at building a shelter. If you're going to get federal funding, you have to actually have a certain amount of people within 5 minutes to even be eligible for it and stuff. The problem you run into, and I realize this in Walk On, because the county courthouse is the designated shelter for the city. The trailer park, number one, ain't 5 minutes walking, and it's probably 5 minutes driving, and by then it's too late. So the problem is just, I mean, we opened it up, we've worked out arrangement with a walk-on PD, they've got access up the building up. You know, people, it just, unfortunately, people aren't going to use it, and when they do need it, it's going to probably be too late in a sense. Unfortunately, unlike further south where you actually have very long-term warnings before tornadoes hit, we all realize that our part of the country here, tornadoes happen very quickly. You know, I watch that all the time, and you realize, and again, typically when we have a tornado touchdown, there's very little to no warning. It's just going to happen. You know, unlike, this thing's been on the ground for 10 minutes and it's still going to roll for 30 minutes. So I don't know what the solution is, but that's something
Well,
we need to
if you
work
hear a
on.
siren, you try to find someplace.
Well, by the time you hear the siren, that's when you need to actually be within that, like 1
Yeah,
minute
that's what
of
I'm
your.
saying. When you hear the siren, it's when I go down to,
Yeah.
answer my, whatever room I go to.
I think
Or the door and lock.
technology too, having better prediction now. People, if they need to go, they go way ahead of time.
Yeah.
Having something, they got the TV that are.
And again, like I said, I know in the years that they've had, they rarely get anybody to go. And I think it's because we're blessed with so few tornadoes in the county, but it's one of those things, because we have so few, people have just become complacent.
Ignore it.
Okay.
It's going to be that time when it does happen, that's going to be unfortunate.
Yep, it will be.
And that's how sometimes it works. I mean, we're fortunate, again, we just seem to avoid them. I think we actually, as a county within the state of Iowa, we're probably the top as far as the least amount of tornadoes, if not in the top 5. You know, so.
Yeah.
Well, that was a year ago, actually, that Iowa had over 26 tornadoes, so, in December, so, they do happen all the time.
They do.
So,
You bet.
In December?
All right.
All right.
Thanks for that feedback. So, this is what you guys had for the last plan with regards to the mitigation actions that you'd be willing to look at as a community. Some of them were coordinating with the county, who was having some efforts. They were looking at community shelter plan, a volunteer group, possibly a real response plan. And I'll let Corey, he's kind of deciding which of those are continuing.
We're actually doing the evac shelter plan right now, because I met with you guys on that. In fact, that's where I was at earlier, was talking to Walk on Fire about theirs. Obviously, we are working on the volunteer groups. Currently, I've been working with RSVP out of Decorah, specifically. They're the 55 and older organization. And the rail response plan, that's just something that may or may not happen, but that's just more of, my vision for that was more of just, if we need to assist the rail in a derailment, is to have things in place where they can stage, where they can go and stuff like that. Because when they had the derailment down by Lansing out there by the power plant, they had that coal train that had some cars derail. Where do they, and that was a small derailment, so it was a very small footprint that they needed. But if there was a large scale derailment, they bring in a lot of stuff and they need a place to stage. And so that the intent of the plan was more, this is where you could go to stage all their equipment and stuff. And they might come in with dozens and dozens of large pieces of equipment, because their goal is to get the rail open back up as quickly as possible and stuff. And they may have to do that with a lot of equipment. So it's more based on that, of identifying those locations specifically. Here it's not so bad. As you realize, along the river, there ain't a lot of open spaces along the river for them to stage at if they need to. So that's kind of what the rail plan really was mainly going to provide, was a heads up and just a way to help assist them in the process of responding to rail. So or rail derailments.
The last one with the county was just working with emergency management to update the hazmat response plan that you include in the emergency support function. I got that one listed too.
Oh, we have a 120-page hazmat plan, so I think we're good there.
So those are some things that we were thinking about working in the county on. What you had listed for your community: additional enhanced fire department training and equipment supplies. So that was in your 5-year hazard mitigation plan, you guys. Additional generators, including at the water plant and fire station. Maintain or enhance your water distribution system. City government and staff and our schools to continue to organize and participate in ALICE or other active shooter trainings through local law enforcement. acquire and demolish damaged nuisance structures, and National Flood Insurance Program participation as with an NFIP. So
And I know you guys have been doing quite a bit of that acquire and demolish, I know from previous meetings. Is that something you guys still are pursuing that? Or is that kind of, I know you've been acquiring some properties and
Yeah.
I assume that's an ongoing process yet then, so.
any other updates you can give me on those actions and then the status of them and whether they are worth ongoing, or continuing, or you think that's probably something we can remove? And any other conversation about what you think the community could work on? There's two ways to think about it. One is, this is your opportunity, once in a 5-year opportunity to just organize a little bit and set your sights big. No one's gonna get on your back if you don't do this. You can tell that I'm the enforcement right now, explaining I'm not on your back. So, but the other way you can think of it is if there were some costly projects, for example, infrastructure, retention pond, whatever it would be, this is a way of lining yourself up for funding, especially FEMA funding. And I did over the last 2 years when there was a lot of funding available through COVID, I saw communities bring their list and say, we got it here, and then they got 100% funding for some of their stuff. So if you're thinking about it all, get on the list. Even
Our
if you
SOAR
never.
project wouldn't be included in that, would it?
Or what?
Here's the other, it's just the thought, the old hospital, that the Jewish school, the little kids in it. I mean, that's not listed on the.
It's on the map.
It's not on the map on the plus page.
Is it called by Echelon? I had that one.
You got the Yeshiva, but this is like the K through what, 8?
It's not on this big one. This one
On the
here.
big one, you can
Oh, it
see.
is on the.
It's not on the big
It's
one.
not on the big one?
No.
Okay.
So you come on 100th Street.
Oh, that
It's
big,
right
that,
here.
the one up
Do you
by
mind
us.
writing it
at the
down for
park.
me and then putting an arrow? Could you do me that big favor? Thank you.
Yeah, the little one isn't in, you're right, yeah.
It's the old hospital, but I said, if you're trying to get all the people for the school.
Nope, we want to understand that. I mean, it's most relevant to local response, obviously. And if you guys know, you know. But it helps Corey. We'd like to get it in a chapter. Make sure we're got it all too.
It's
So
over,
That's the only other one, isn't it, Deborah? I mean, but it's not marked.
it's
Okay,
up at
thanks.
Oak
Thanks
Drive
for
and
updating me on
100th
that.
Street.
What's the boys' school called?
It's the same building, it's. Yeah,
It's part of the.
It's on Green Street there. It shows that.
That one's on there though.
Here you go.
Okay, thanks.
If you can read my writing.
Good. Okay. All right,
Well, is
so
that
yes.
something that-
mitigate- Go ahead, sorry.
Well, like a block down here, there's a
That one's
boarding,
listed.
it is.
It's
Yeah,
listed
it's
right
on
here.
there, man.
So I threw that out to you about the mitigation actions. I'm gonna let you guys have a chat. Let me know what you think. What about updating me on the status of any of the existing ones? With regards to generators, is that something that you guys are still working on? Adding more backup power?
Ooh, I don't know. At this time, there's no need.
Put a new one at the water or wastewater plant when we put that in.
So there's no need right now, is there?
I don't think so. There's one at Turner Hall. And there's one for the,
There's one
Water. yeah.
So you still have the 3?
Yeah.
So basically, we can hopefully communicate, have drinking water and have a sewer working.
Okay, gotcha. I'll probably remove that from your list then. Enhanced water distribution system or maintenance? I'm assuming that's probably
That's
ongoing.
ongoing, yeah.
You remove trees and is that a part of that mitigation thing, like develop tree treatment and replacement plant?
Yeah.
We got rid of a bunch of trees because of the
Ash borer was there.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know if we've done anything about that from them or not.
So that would be something that you're doing anyway. I could just list it in
Yeah.
here just to get it. It sounds like you've already got a strategy for that, but, the water distribution, obviously you're always trying to figure out how to fund that. So it's worth keeping. It's hit or miss what kind of FEMA grants are available and what criteria they have, but I would keep that in there. the active shooter trainings, is that something anyone from the school?
Is Alice still happening? Can we still do those?
There's two of us in the department that are training, the Alice training.
But the schools don't, you don't.
Schools don't do it much anymore.
No, we haven't done an
Yeah.
active shooter training in a long time.
They change it out every year on the
Right.
Procedure.
And
Yeah.
we talked about bringing it back, but nothing has happened.
Right.
A lot of the new is the run, hide, fight is kind of the newer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
easier to understand. I'll be honest, I never remember what L stands for as an acronym. Run, hide, fight is always easier just from semantics to remember. And obviously with the school grant that's taking place this year, the assessments that are done, the money that's being done, our goal will be to work with the schools here in the next couple of years and actually do some of this training. I know Lansing's very interested in doing some actual training with active shooter, but again, that'd be something we leave up to each school and each city, law enforcement work with them on that, but yeah.
We get to run away.
What's that?
We get to run away, get this training.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel interested in keeping that listed as a mitigation action, or if it just doesn't really.
Well, it's gonna be
It's
one of
gonna
the
happen,
school
essentially.
mitigation actions, I can tell you that. It'll be, because I'm doing their mitigation actions for all 3 public school districts. And that'll be something on there, will be, how I'm gonna word it, but it'll be in reference to, active shooter training, awareness and things like that. So that'll be at least on the school side. So it'd be more if you were gonna do something probably in the government side, rather than the school, because again, it'll be in the schools.
So what about adding something for like bulletproof glass to security type?
I mean,
for-
within here,
Yeah.
that's mitigation for.
So
And that's where that mental health came into play. We were talking about that, when you talk about, because there's so many, again, there's the terminology can be deceptive sometimes when you talk about shooting incidences. But obviously, it's really, at least to me, it's a mental health issue. And so that kind of became the catch-all for all those kind of different situations where you're dealing with. Obviously, in the end, everything was, it's a mental health issue. So that would definitely be, if there's, if you're looking at potentially, making your facilities more secure, definitely could be something on the list. So, does that make sense?
Might need that.
Yeah.
So,
I have a question then with regard, and with Darcy bringing up the bulletproof glass. Okay, on the library board, what about our public library? Are we, is that part of, can we be considered part of that too? Is what I'm thinking, for security and,
it's a public facility.
Right,
It can be underneath the security enhancements if you want to use this in more of a broader term. Because sometimes you want to get too specific on some things, because then you kind of corral yourself into
Pigeonhole
that.
yourself into it.
When you use a more broader term, it gives you more flexibility when it comes to showing. And again, this is stuff that would be needed for federal grant purposes. Obviously, if you reach out to a private firm, they're not going to be looking for your hazard mitigation plan. FEMA does.
They can, yeah.
So does it benefit us any to mention the fire department if they are trying to add anything?
Well, we're
or
kind of
not
talking
really?
about that. There might be something on there where it's like, I don't know, and we'll figure that out.
Sure.
I know you're
Yep.
talking about a fire
Right.
truck and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's obviously grants out there for that too.
Right.
There's a firefighter grant, and sometimes the FEMA grants sometimes the grants that these are related to are very specific. You have to be certain criteria. It's kind of like people asking me if there's an AED grant. It's like, no, there's not a specific AED grant. You have to find usually a private source for that. And so,
I would think of it strategically. If the fire department comes to you and says, I need your letter of, support, and you can also say, by the way, it's this, it's here too. Just think of it strategically. It doesn't hurt to get in there.
so we're looking about 10 years out, obviously, since we do updates this every 5 years.
Yep.
And again, it does, like I mentioned before, if it's something you're thinking about doing, it doesn't hurt to be on there. You don't have to do the action, but at least it's on there. I heard you mention something about sewer, improvements, a lot of times cities obviously are looking for some type of funding for sewer, but I'm not sure. Again, if it's on there, it's on there. If it doesn't, again, Walk-On obviously just went through that whole process with their new sewer plant. I don't know where they got all the funding from it, but, and stuff, so.
So, yeah, it's just an opportunity to get a list for yourself too. If you have a comprehensive plan that ends up in there, usually as well, they almost always have a hazard mitigation chapter. So to make those things all relate and get your minds wrapped around it is one of the big purposes. So I think that's kind of the feedback. Anyone want to add anything else? Okay, so we're gonna bother you guys. Oh, thank you for sitting for that. We're gonna bother you to see if we can get one of you at one of these countywide meetings. And if we can't, then we'll probably circle back to you with authorized rep. If we can't, if we absolutely can't, otherwise we will eventually have a draft of this plan I'm creating. And we'll send it to probably Darcy and ask her to share it out. And we encourage you to provide feedback. I would focus in on the Postville section and then the mitigation actions we have listed.
It's only about 3 or 4 meetings over the next few months. It's not like a weekly thing. It's usually a meeting per month or maybe 2 at the most. So it's not a huge commitment. Today we're meeting now at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which seems to work really well. It allows people to go in for a couple hours and be out before it really gets to be late and they can go home. You know, it's kind of, we used to do this at night. I think it works. And Speed Fund has been really, I think, better to do it for like late afternoon. People kind of get done, they can go home and be done for the evening, you know, for supper and stuff like that without having to come back out again. So, and usually it's 2 hours is the longest we meet because it's very
Where are they
specific
at,
each
Corey?
meeting. We usually will meet and walk on at the sheriff's office. It's, again, it works out to be this best central location, given the fact that I've driven from New Alvin to Postal before in one night. That's a long drive. So we like to use walk on for anything countywide just because it's centrally located. When you really do realize the distances it takes to get from, you know, one side of the county to the other. And we usually meet at the sheriff's office. So it's, we've got a nice conference room there with 2 big TVs and, it's, you know, it works out real well. We've got plenty of parking and it's, you know, it's been a nice location to meet. So.
We don't want to cheat the system, but if somebody comes to one meeting, we can say Postville got involved in the countywide committee. If it's, I know that we're all hard pressed for time. And then also this was your way of participating, just having us this evening. So.
Otherwise, I'll
Thank
come
you
there.
very
one
much.
Thank you.
day.
See, I forgot to mention, Devorah brought goodies, and there's plenty, so, hey.
They're delicious.
You made them all yourself.
So help yourself, because there's plenty. All right, let's go on then to item 15 is the consent agenda. Chance to take a look at that, if there's anything in there you want to talk about.
What's a Class B liquor license? Does that mean beer and wine, or does that mean liquor or what? Just curious, I don't know.
It's different class of how you sell it, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
includes
because I
beer and
see, I
wine.
see Casey's is a Class E.
Because would be a different,
Mhm. Different
convenience
whatever they
store
sell-
class,
sell,
it's a
yeah.
different.
All right, well, is there a motion then to accept the consent
Or are we
agenda?
going to see these people wanting it?
It's up to you. We are holding their check, like I said, they did use it. We have their check and
I thought that was kind of our rule, that we let nonprofits use it for no cost. or-
it's only by the council's decision
Oh,
that
I
they
see.
can use it.
So Mary, your question was what?
Is that part of the consent?
It's part of the consent.
Yeah,
So if you're
yeah.
okay with it, you'll include
Yeah.
it.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second
Any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, carried. All right, item 16 is a resolution for money to pay the claims.
I move that we pay the claims.
Second,
it. I'll second it.
whenever you're ready, Darcy.
Engelhardt,
Yes.
Ingstrom,
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
Mar, Moore.
Yes.
Passed. All right, that takes us to 17. Does they have any public yet that likes to comment? Yeah. Other opportunity? All right, then let's see, mayor's report. I don't think I've got anything. Do I? Council, any comments from the council?
budget calendar, Darcy.
Yeah, well, yes. I want to go over that with you. Did everybody take a look at the budget calendar I put together in your packet?
I'm assuming February 13th, the second one, it should be a different day or not? 'Cause you have Monday, February 13th, and then Thursday, February 16th, and then Tuesday, February 13th again.
All right. Let's see what I did.
I just happened to catch that now.
All right, so Monday, February 13th is a regular council meeting, so that would be where you do the max tax
Yep.
levy, right? So Monday, January 16th, 7 o'clock is a special meeting, so that would be your budget workshop, okay? That works for everybody. January 9th is a regular meeting, that's when all your boards will come and ask for their money. Budget workshop on the 16th is a Monday at 7. You'll set the max tax levy that night for the 13th, which is a regular meeting. And then also at that, after you adopt the max tax levy, then you'll set your public hearing for your actual budget, which would be March 13th. So the other ones are just notes to me, public paper.
Tuesday, March 13th.
Yeah. Monday, March 13th.
Monday, okay.
Yeah, it's your regular council.
Okay.
Yeah, the February dates are just my publishing dates for myself.
Okay, those are the,
So the 9th, the 16th, and the 13th. So
Okay.
16th would be a special meeting for budget workshop only.
well,
That's
the
a
three
Monday.
Presbyterians are all on the council that meets that night.
On
so
Monday,
Yeah.
January 16th.
Yeah.
Okay, what other day works? Does Tuesday work?
I'm just saying the three of us are all on the church council too, so,
Is it-
to Tuesday or Wednesday.
yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So should we just do Tuesday? Does that work for everybody?
So that's the 17th.
The
Tuesday,
17th?
January 17th.
Okay, so the 17th then will be your budget workshop.
I'm confused. The 9th and the 16th,
The 16th, you said no because you're a Presbyterian.
well, that's one we're talking
So
about.
now it's the 17th, right?
I was on the wrong
So that
one.
what you said?
I shouldn't have eaten this thing, I'm getting too distracted.
Okay.
Your fault. And the 16th is gonna be Tuesday. of
Right, the
January.
17th. So your regular meeting the 9th, Tuesday the 17th.
Got it.
Then the next is regular in March. Or in February and in March, regular.
Gotcha.
I appreciate the 7 p.m.
Yeah,
start
you
time
got
for
it.
this special-
All right. Everybody clear on that? Okay. Any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Okay.
Deborah, these are delicious. What's the secret to eating them without getting jelly all over your face?
That's no fun.
Bigger bites, Mary.
Yeah, got it on my nose.